the global capitalist hegemon that was the center of global capital was the British Empire. And that's a fact. So it makes sense that the ascendant one, which became America, there would be a degree of continuity there. And I pointed out that continuity. But now he's going to have a whole 20 to 30 minute segment talking about LaRouche. And thank God for us, guys. You want to know what's beautiful? I'm going to skip most of this because most of this isn't even relevant to us. But I will take the opportunity to talk plainly and candidly about LaRouche. Thanks to Daniel Burke, such a good friend, by the way, revealing and exposing his hand. He's given me the green light to very diplomatically communicate what I really fucking about who LaRouche is and who he was.
This seems to make no sense. Is Haas saying that the US is controlled by Britain to this very day?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that the global capitalist class, first of all, is not comprised of people who fulfilled the American dream and made it up from scratch from nothing. I'm saying it actually is like an aristocracy in practice that has a long continuity with the previous ruling classes of the previous world hegemony. I talked about marriages and mixture and connections, which is much more nuanced than this straw man argument you're attributing to me that the British are this like nebulous lizard-like elite that just control us. I didn't say that. I talked about the continuity of actual ruling. I'm not saying comprador, who are lower on the pecking order. The ruling, preeminent capitalist hegemonic capitalist cartels. There was mixture between the ascendant ones coming from the USA and the existing ones that were in Britain. That's a fact. Carroll Quigley talks about it in his book, The Anglo-American Elite. And that has relevance for Americans who want to succeed the American revolutionary tradition.
America is literally oppressed and occupied by a British elite. What does this mean exactly?
No, it's a capitalist elite. That's the thing you missed from this whole speech, apparently. It's not important that they're British. It's important that they are a capitalist elite who have occupied this country in contradistinction to its own founding revolutionary ideals. It's a much more powerful message than the straw man you're trying to set up.
Fascist rhetoric is often esoteric and not meant to be taken literally, so it's easy to guess that Haas doesn't literally...
What are you fucking talking about?
...really think that a British elite rules America, but why...
No, I don't think a British elite rules America because I plainly never even implied or said that at all. What I said is much more nuanced and complicated than that, you fucking idiot with zero IQ reading comprehension.
Does Haas use the word British to describe this international financial cabal?
I actually said Anglo-American. I said Atlanticist. You read the Wikipedia article on LaRouche. I'll tell you why he's constantly doing this straw man. Because he read the Wikipedia article on LaRouche where they're like, oh, LaRouche talks about the British, but he really just means the Jews. And he's trying to attribute that to me somehow. He's making the grand leap as if I talk about the British in that way. Like, the British are doing this or that. I don't. I talk about the Atlantis elite. I talk about the Anglo-American elite. I did that in this speech, and I said a huge portion of today's ruling class is made up of that, sure, the City of London and Wall Street, but at no point do I talk about this nebulous conspiratorial cabal called, quote-unquote, the British. That's the Wikipedia article of LaRouche you're pinning on, you fucking dishonest worm.
I think this is a clue to figuring out the origins of MAGA communism.
Yeah, this guy's a detective, guys. It's like a clue because he already came up with the conclusion and he's asserting it into the premise while pretending like he's this disinterested detective uncovering something. You didn't uncover anything. You asserted something about us, baseless, from Johnny Socialism and them. That's where you got it from. That's the truth. And now you're pretending like you're a detective uncovering the truth from investigation. But there's no investigation. There's a process in which you're cherry-picking evidence and shoehorning it into this false procedure of reasoning and argumentation to lend credibility to this extremely baseless conclusion you already drew and inserted as the premise.
It takes us back to an obscure figure in American history. That figure is Lyndon LaRouche.
Fuck, this is crazy. Yeah, here's a whole 20 minutes. I think part of this will include me, but let me just see.
I think even for those that may disagree with LaRouche's philosophy, they must at least concede that he is probably one of the most, if not the most, profound theorist and thinker of policy in the modern age. What do you think about that?
When I was in middle school,
All right, so everything he just showed from Jackson, from me, reflected something very specific, okay? We, at that time, through Caleb, our best friend, greatest guy ever, Caleb very generously introduced us to the Schiller Institute. And the Schiller Institute, we came to know them in the following ways, right? Daniel Burke, I'm going to explain who Daniel Burke is. Daniel Burke is like the left PR department for the Schiller. So Schiller is trying to always recruit people, and Daniel Burke is like the guy who faces leftward to recruit leftists, right? He was roped in with Caleb Maupin or whatever. And what happened is that they presented themselves to us in the following way. Like, one, they're pro-China and pro-Russia. That's so cool. They're like the Belt and Road Initiative that China's doing. We have this idea for that, where it's, we want that, but we are super enthusiastic about that. And that's more the energy we want, like China, right? That's like our view on policy. And they also would talk about, they had very good foreign policy views. CGTN would platform them. They were welcomed in Russia. And then then the second thing is that they also were not big fans of the British Empire, but understand we had that position independently of them. It's just that this was another thing that they seemed to have that was similar to us. And we liked this idea of an American identity versus the British Empire and the imperialist tendency that America has become, because we think that is an effective way to make communism applicable and relevant in the American national context. So we're like, oh, this can be like a Sun Yat-sen type of thing, where he's not a communist, but it's like this. We were very open-minded. And then the third thing what was it? We liked the thing about unleashing the productive forces, in contrast to the degrowth stuff. And that's always been a feature of Marxism, which is accelerating the productive forces. Now, where did that accent come from my end? I liked the idea of technological acceleration because I have independent reasoning here, okay? But I am coming from accelerationist circles a little bit, right? I don't have the same views as them. There used to be Cave Twitter with Ed Berg and the unconditional accelerationists and all these other kind of landy. And there was a strong sentiment of unleash the productive forces, unleash technology, instead of this technological pessimism and degrowth stuff. Restore back to Marxism, this kind of technological dimension of optimism. Like LaRouche would talk about, like, at least as they would present it to us, he would be like, oh yeah, we're going to have 5 billion or 5 trillion people and fully unleash the... We thought that was cool, right? We liked that. We thought a lot of the green politics was a Malthusian, which is true. That's actually real. Malthusianism is a real tendency among the capitalist class. Marx talked about it. He talked about how Thomas Malthus was the premier ideologist of the capitalist class at that time. That didn't change. You study the development of eugenics, look at what they're saying at Davos with depopulation and stuff, it's all real, right? So there were like some similarities that allowed us to find common ground with Schiller, and who is very much aggressively promoting LaRouche and LaRouche's ideas. But understand something very carefully. Both myself and Jackson had a pre-established position that predated this contact with Daniel Burke that we ended up having, right? Which culminated in a conference we did at the Schiller Institute, where I gave a speech defending South Africa's EFF, which Schiller hates, and Hegel, which Schiller hates, and Alexander Kojev, which Schiller hates. Now, and I promoted class struggle. I talked about the proletarian class. I touched upon all of the key things that distinguished myself from them. And why did I do that? Because I was starting to detect, even at that time, I was getting pretty shocked at something that disturbed me, which was that they were trying to recruit from infrared. There were some infrared guerrillas that were telling, oh yeah, I was like, hold on, give me a fucking second here. It's like, I didn't understand how it worked online, where if I'm friendly with Daniel Burke and we're trying to find common ground, like that means I endorse them and I want you guys to fucking join their retarded cringe cult where they sit around and fucking do this cringe choir shit, and they're like, they do all this weird shit, this cringe stuff, because it's like a cult, basically. And they tell you you can't listen to music or like pop music, it's demonic, and they try to fucking... I wasn't having all of that. I just like common ground on the basis of like policy ideas and foreign policy views and things. But I like, there was always a presumed distance where, no, motherfucker, we're not gonna actually like allow this to affect our fucking lives. But there were some guerrillas that were like drinking the fucking LaRouche Kool-Aid because they needed a real life organization to join, even though I told them to join the CPUSA. And I was getting bothered by that. So I wanted to very clearly distinguish myself from Schiller and the LaRouche people as a message to my community that, hey, if you don't fucking take my willingness to try to collaborate with people who I think are sincere anti-imperialists to mean that I endorse them or they're getting my seal of approval, because they're not. In fundamental ways, they're not. Anyway, I am so stupid, and this was the biggest fucking mistake of my life, literally, is ever affiliating with these people. Because for some reason, millennials, who I think are their target demographic anyway, are super fascinated by LaRouche, and it's this whole thing, this whole cult has this whole history, which is so interesting and whatever, from the 1980s. And it's, wow. I'm literally so naive in the sense that, like, Daniel Burke would literally just tell me his views on shit, and we would see what they think about things and be like, okay, sure. And like, little did I fucking know that just from associating with this guy, we would be pinned for life as a LaRoucheite conspiracy by this obscure 1980s cult, apparently. Like, all of these things about LaRouche. Oh my God, he's the CIA and he's fucking in South Africa and he's whatever. I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know. Like, what, you think I fucking know about all these details about Lyndon LaRouche? And I took them at face value. It was a big mistake, and not because of them even, because I could deal with them, obviously. They're no threat to me. But it's a mistake because these crazy parapolitics, and this is why Johnny Socialism latched onto LaRouche shit. No brainer. I first learned about LaRouche through the parapolitics community, who always used to ironically, and as like a marker of hipster taste, they'd be like, LaRouche, that crazy guy, he actually was saying some shit that was uncovering stuff. So it was like kind of vogue to like not seriously endorse LaRouche, but be like, this reveals some shit, like LaRouche, there's more to LaRouche than it seems. That's why I started taking LaRouche a little seriously from a distanced way, like, not in the sense that, oh, he's a great theorist or he's a great thinker in the sense that I agree with him philosophically, but more in the sense of, oh, there's more to this than it lets on. But when we started talking to Daniel Burke, and when we did that event at Schiller where we spoke, a new narrative started to get crafted, where the whole movement and whole phenomena of infrared specifically was being spun as, this is just a LaRouche thing. This is like LaRouche rehashed. This is LaRouche all over again. And we didn't know how powerful that narrative would be. Because we didn't see the Schiller Institute as extremely powerful or significant at all. To this day, people like associate us with LaRouche in these really in a really over-exaggerated way because of a very meaningless friendship we had with Daniel Burke specifically. And I mention him because there really was no one else. Pesto Mime was like a fucking troll. Talked about Lysenko's weed, but Pesto Mime was not like this influential LaRoucheite agent. Also, he got kicked out. But beyond Pesto, like, Daniel Burke was really the only one that we like knew in any real way, and like in the sense that he was like friendly with us. But LaRouche jacking, that's a good word. Like, they started LaRouche jacking us because these crazy mind-fucked millennial parapolitics schizoids, it was perfect for them. We were this mysterious new thing, and they were like, oh, it's connected, the line from Daniel Burke to us, and our connection was like totally superficial. You could just see it on a stream. There's nothing secret, there's nothing, no planning, no strategizing, no nothing, just fucking, literally that stream, he was like, shit like that. He went on Jackson's show, it's whatever. Once I started seeing these crazy, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep a friendly distance from these people. It was also after the conference, because I started learning. I had people who joined and then got disillusioned, and they were like, on the inside, Schiller does nothing but shit talk you. This was in actually late 22. They're like, these LaRouche guys at Schiller, they do nothing but shit talk you. RTSG was already waging war against them, which I didn't like, but they did it anyway. Looking back, it was great they did that. But I was like, why are we just going to war with everyone? Burning all bridges. Actually, it turns out RTSG was right, because one guy who had ended up attending one of their events or meetings, their choir, they wanted him to fucking sing. He was like, why am I fucking singing? He was like, and then he was like, all right, fuck this. Then he came and reported to me what was going on in there. He was like, listen, they talk mad shit about you. Like, they don't like you. They want to take your community, and they think that you're a nut job. They don't like your philosophy. They don't like your outlook. They think infrared is filthy and disgusting and evil, and that you're like guerrilla stuff. It's like primitivism, and that you're like a barbarian and the Genghis Khan stuff. Like, they really didn't fuck with me at all. But they believed in this strategy of taking my followers and recruiting them into their cult. Okay? I still didn't say a fucking thing because they didn't say anything in public. I kept my mouth shut and I just started ignoring them. That's why we didn't do a second event. I just started not wanting to collaborate with them at all. Like how Daniel Burke used to come on stream. No more. That kind of thing. Fast forward of our years of ignoring Schiller to the founding of the ACP. By this time, we didn't give a fuck about Schiller or Daniel Burke. They were irrelevant to us. Completely irrelevant. Okay? But during Danny Shaw's betrayal on January 17th, something really interesting happened. I was doxxed and accused of running guns to Haiti. And Daniel Burke comes out of the woodwork and he goes, who would have guessed that an organization that's learning from Heidegger would have such an ugly, rotten thing? And that's the epitome of who Lyndon LaRouche was. Lyndon LaRouche was a guy who would have a slight philosophical disagreement with someone, and then very viscerally and maliciously attack them on a personal level, circumventing all personal decency because of some stupid, small intellectual disagreement. Meaning LaRouche didn't believe there was this unspoken texture of dense social conventions and honor and anything that was beyond intellectual disagreements. For LaRouche, the direct philosophical opinions and views you have directly determine every aspect of your existence, is what he believed. That is why every LaRouche organization is a cult. Because literally, from the music you listen to, everything has to reflect exactly your specific intellectual opinion and view. And there's no room for humanity. There's no room for charity, and there's no room for any degree of ambiguity or mercy upon the other. Every fucking aspect has to be directly pure formally. And I used to think LaRouche got done dirty with how much shit is talked about him and made up about him. But honestly, it is karma. You know what? I'll say it. It's fucking karma. I tend not to want to speak ill of the dead, but that's what he did to everyone else. He slandered the shit out of everyone else and made up so much bullshit about Mao and the Soviet experience. And he would just make shit up and pull it out of his fucking ass, much like the millennial parapolitics people that are doing that to him. That's karma, because that's all he ever fucking did. He would make so many leaps. Yeah, he'd be like, Khomeini is a British drug dealer. He would, and you'd be like, LaRouche, where are you getting this from? It's the Platonic principle of, it's deductive logic. It's like he felt like he could get away with telling empirical lies, as if the empirical didn't matter. And all that mattered was his philosophical antagonism with others. So the empirical details don't matter. They're like, you have to see the circle instead of the squares, whatever they would fucking say. The details don't matter. Only the Platonic circles matter. Whatever fucking triangle bullshit they believe. I don't fucking know. They have this autistic shape bullshit. Leibniz. So they're like, literally, you're getting doxxed. You're getting slandered as an arms trafficker. That doesn't fucking matter because we disagree with you about Heidegger and your views. So no human decency matters. We can just fucking crucify you and kill you, literally. Shoot you in the fucking head and you deserve it because you fucking read a different philosopher than me. It's disgusting. They are freaks. They're like, you could literally be shot in the head and we're going to fucking say that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The shapes matter. That's just an empirical bullshit, muddy, demiurgic filth. All that matters is that you disagree with me on Leibniz. It's precisely, I don't even want to say this because it's so bad, but it's like you could be a victim of the worst crime. You could be a fucking victim. And you'll go to LaRouche and be like, we need to report this crime. And he's like, it's when you think about it, it's your fault because of your fucking views on Leibniz. It's because of your views on Leibniz that this happened to you. So you deserve it. You should reflect on your views on Leibniz. That's the type of shit they're on. If I was thrown in prison, Daniel Burke would come out in public and be like, that's what happens when you don't agree with us on the critique of Hegel. That's what happens when you're a Hegelian. Like, I could literally be assassinated, and Daniel Burke would come to my funeral and try to give a speech to people about like why Jacques Lacan leads to death. I find that so disgusting and contemptible about them. And for diplomatic reasons relating to the minimal decency I thought Daniel Burke had extended toward us, voiced my actual views on what I think about them. What did I gain from that? I gained being called a LaRoucheite constantly because I never fucking wanted to throw what I thought was a friend of Jackson and I under the bus. After what he fucking did, when he thought our party was at its dire hour and we were gonna get dismantled, when he thought we were like done for, he came out of the woodwork and was like pissing on our grave that he thought we were dead. He showed his true colors, really. I feel like that summarizes like my view on LaRouche. Really, that's it. The things that we agree with LaRouche, it's just Michael Hudson. That's the secret. It's Michael Hudson. Michael Hudson, Michael Hudson, Michael Hudson. That's the contemporary economist that influences us. Michael Hudson, and LaRouche stole everything worthwhile when it comes to economics from Michael Hudson. Michael Hudson's the real genius.
I would go on this website, uselectionatlas.org, and browse historical American election results, because that's what said Dennis King, who spent a long time covering LaRouche and his movement. So Lyndon LaRouche was born on September 8th in America.
A whole fucking biography for this guy.
And around the world. And LaRouche, now in his 40s and living in New York City, fully believed that they were capable of this, and even enforced to listen to.
Yeah, I just want to get to the part where it's like relevant to us or me.
Organizations. Their goal became to install a fascist regime in America with Lind as leader and mobilize the country for a campaign of global conquest. LaRouche studied how Hitler and Mussolini came to power and concluded that he had to forge a coalition of American political, economic, and military elites willing to sponsor the overthrow of the American Republic and its militant social.
You know what's sad is I don't even think this is true, but why should I be a cuck and defend this guy when he created a movement of people that just slander everyone, and they're getting slandered, and what a cuck I would be if I would defend them from slander.
One of the best private intelligence services in the world, Richard Morris, executive assistant to Judge William Clark, when the latter was President Reagan's national security advisor, met with LaRouche several times, aides on...
Alexander Cowboy, what's up? Because again, they don't believe truth matters. They think that all that matters is Leibnizian circles. So that's why they're such an optical fucking disaster. They don't even defend themselves. I literally asked Daniel Burke, I'd be like, bro, is it true that you guys like worked with the CIA? And he was like, no. And he would explain in detail what it was. I was like, oh, so you weren't trying to attack the Soviet Union? And he was like, no. I was like, why don't you fucking say that in public? Why are you letting these lies? And he'd be like, it's not important. The empirical stuff, it's really the bigger... Like, they would just say shit like that. I'd be like, why would I want to associate with people who don't even fucking, like, care about facts? They think that you can just intuit everything from first... and that you have the key to the universe. You don't actually have to, like, actually investigate reality in any way.
Aspects of the Iran-Contra affair.
But to be fair, yeah, I'm sure there's fucked up things about LaRouche. I'm sure there is. They hated the Black Panthers. And already there's a fundamental schism. Like, of course, Black Panthers every day, all day, over the fucking cringe glasses-wearing LaRouche. Yeah, I went there.
Space weaponry using nuclear fusion. There's a lot more to say about LaRouche. He cultivated connections among mobsters in the Teamsters Union. He went to prison for 5 years.
Is that Nico from GTA 4? Fuck.
Because he instructed his followers to commit massive financial fraud and scam a ton of people out of their money. And LaRouche turned his attention to electoral politics, and he and his followers. So that begs the question of why Hinkle and Haas seem to really like LaRouche. Now,
yeah, it begs the question. It's not like we actually, like, we're very superficial about it in the sense, like, we're pretty clear about what about LaRouche we liked. Turns out to be things that have nothing to do with LaRouche uniquely, but happen to be things LaRouche believed that also were in line with what Marxists believed. That's the whole mystery of our affiliation with LaRouche, is we would just tell Daniel Burke, we're like, oh, y'all like China? That's great. We like China. Wow. Very profound. Like, we would literally just, all the things that we had minimal common ground, we'd be like, great. But the things that were uniquely LaRouche, Enough. That's the thing. The things that were uniquely LaRouche's philosophy, we had nothing in common with. Literally nothing. Only the things that he stole from other traditions interested us.
Nowadays, MAGA communists usually don't talk directly about LaRouche and Eddie Smith from Midwestern.
Oh yeah, because we're hiding it, Brandon. That's what he's trying to insinuate here. Like, we're hiding the truth. We're hiding it. We're not talking about this glaring thing. Like, we're not talking about it, but it's like low-key the subtext of everything they say and do, right? Fucking crazy.
Marx just outright denies that MAGA communists are connected to LaRoucheism in any way, but Haas and Hinkle are very much.
They're not. They're really not. Because the connection in question was the Schiller Institute conference. That's it.
Midwestern Marx just outright denies that MAGA communists are connected to LaRoucheism in any way, but
they're not. Really, they're not.
Haas and Hinkle are very much fans of LaRouche. LaRouche is one of the most profound theorists and thinkers.
How do I explain diplomatically to how do I give Daniel Burke a bone and be like, okay, it's literally a fucking participation trophy. I'm literally saying LaRouche may be a retard when it comes to philosophy, but I really like the idea of building trillions of nuclear fusion reactors and building a fucking bridge from Alaska to Siberia. That sounds really good. I was like, he's quite a profound, one of the most profound thinkers of policy. I gave him policy, like a policy idea. Big ideas going on. Notice what I omitted, though. That's one of the things. He doesn't have, this guy Brandon has no discernment or intelligence. Because you learn the truth by what I hear. Not philosophy, not politics, not organization, not strategy, not analysis even, just policy. Think about that think about how vague and nebulous that is. Fucking mean anything.
Policy.
Who's against nuclear fusion? Who's against building up the productive forces? Who's against it? Who's against the land bridge? It's all great. Wonderful. If only there was a way to get to that without the choir singing and the triangles and the fucking dumb, stupid cult shit that they do. That's literally fucking meaningless.
According to Haas, and Hinkle has been associated in the past with the Schiller Institute, an organization founded.
Dude, Schiller, you're making it seem like it's like an anti-Semite logic. When anti-Semites are like, it just so happens to be an incident. When you think about it, I learned this. That guy called Marx. It's just a coincidence, but it's like he's Jewish. Just so happens. It's like something that follows. I looked up Marx's parents. They were Jewish too. That follows logically from Marx being Jewish. Of course his parents would be Jewish. Then this guy's first they're just in isolation talking about LaRouche. Uh-oh, what a coincidence. They went to a Schiller Institute event. No, you're mixing up the causes here. The cause of our interaction with LaRouche is Daniel Burke from the Schiller Institute. So there's no coincidence here. It's a very specific chain of events. No coincidences. It's a very clear chain of events.
His widow, which continues to promote LaRoucheite ideology, and even though Haas.
Oh, really? Wow. It's almost like we just randomly woke up and started being diplomatic to Daniel Burke for no reason about LaRouche.
May now avoid directly mentioning LaRouche.
Yeah, we avoid mentioning LaRouche because we're hiding. We're not mentioning him, but he's definitely has this enduring significance for us. Clear, enduring, and lasting relevance for us. We're just not mentioning him, though. But he still has this clear, enduring relevance and significance for us that we're just hiding. Okay, I'm so scared to mention LaRouche. He's the secret patriarch behind our whole movement. Hey, Brandon, the fuck is scared of mentioning anything, you fucking idiot? We don't mention him because he's not fucking relevant. Fuck Lyndon LaRouche. Fuck Schiller too.
LaRouche's influence is plain in their ideology and rhetoric. Recall earlier all this talk about the British ruling America, which both.
Yeah, I didn't say that though. What did I read? What I actually said, you fucking idiot.
Haas and Hinkle have espoused a British financial cabal occupies America. We have to liberate Canada from.
Oh my God! What a coincidence! America was founded in a war of independence. That's our only revolutionary tradition. It's just like, oh my God! I just looked at the textbook and oh my God! It was a war against the British Empire. Holy fuck! Maybe if we're trying to remain faithful to the American revolutionary tradition, we're gonna play up America's founding revolutionary identity and contradistinction to the fucking British Empire, which we also just happen to inherit with the ascendancy of the American Empire in the post-war period. Wow, dude, you're such a genius.
British globalists? What's all this business about British globalists and British financial cabals?
What's all this business? I don't know. Did you watch my fucking speech? Because I explained it pretty. Again, it's the false posturing that this guy's this curious detective who just so happens to stumble upon these conclusions because he's such a good detective, when in reality, he shoehorned the conclusion already into the premise so as to lead him to this false conclusion.
It comes straight from LaRouche. British.
No, it doesn't. It comes from, okay, just do a devil's advocate thought experiment in your head. If we are trying to affirm some kind of American national identity that has been our revolutionary tradition, meaning we don't want to reject socialist patriotism, and what would follow as far as who America's historical enemies are, its founding, and the circumstances surrounding America becoming a global imperialist power? Wouldn't it be a compelling narrative, at the very least, for us to say that this was a result of the betrayal of our revolutionary founding, and that in the process of that betrayal, we actually joined up with the British Empire, betraying our, like, the fundamental foundations of our nation? It's, dude, it's literally such a compelling narrative, and it's in fucking Red Dawn. The Soviets in Red Dawn, when they're rounding up people into camps, literally have it played on loudspeakers that imperialist America has betrayed its revolutionary foundation. Just put two and two together, you fucking idiot. It's a logical narrative. But it's William Z. Foster's parents were Fenians. Like, are you stupid? There's nothing. This doesn't come from LaRouche, you idiot. Where do you fucking think LaRouche got it, you fucking moron? LaRouche got it from reading American thinkers at the turn of the century. LaRouche got it from reading history, and he took it. He didn't invent it, you idiot. It's always been part of America's revolutionary national identity. Where did you think LaRouche got it? Like, he didn't invent this shit, you idiot.
Is a word LaRouche used all the time to refer
It's like people who think LaRouche invented the idea of unleashing the productive forces. No, he didn't.
Sinister, shadowy elements, which he and his followers were supposedly fighting. He would refer to the British oligarchy and claim that Britain is the #1 enemy of the United States, and this usage of British has an even older history. During World War II, the Nazis diffused anti-Semitism.
Remember when LaRouche was like I remember LaRouche was a meme on like RiceTube. Yeah, I remember that shit. That one based gentleman, I'm not even gonna mention him because only if the dude who was, we were all on the same page about glasses and shit. That dude used to make memes like LaRouche. He'd have a LaRouche speech calling the British filthy, and oh my god, I miss like that. People don't understand that was the context. You don't get it. You're fucking retard. He was always a joke. Like, he was always a joke. LaRouche was always a fucking joke to us. Literally always a joke.
Semitism with anti-British condemning English.
This retard is taking his... I wish that... Does that guy know what heights that has been brought to? Look at this. This video probably has 50,000 views by now. Like, it started out as a meme, and now it's here. That's fucking crazy.
High finance and depicting the British Empire as the engine of Jewish rule, and this theme has persisted among neo-Nazis to this day. This is pretty clearly where LaRouche got the idea of British finance ruling the world. He just excised the explicit anti-Semitism.
It's like he's wearing sunglasses. It's just funny. I don't know.
And developed his own elaborate conspiracy theory to suit his particular brand of fascist politics. One must begin with LaRouche's conspiracy theory of history, which highlights the role of deception and concealment in the transmission of ideology through the centuries. In the secrets known only to the inner elites, LaRouche claims that he and his followers represent a 3,000-year-old faction of Neoplatonic humanists locked in mortal struggle with an equally ancient oligarchy. To avoid repression by the dominant oligarchy, the humanists through the centuries have...
This video is called The Nonsense of MAGA Communism, by the way, and now we're talking about a 3,000-year-old Assassin's Creed thing. We're to blame for this. This is our fault.
Concealed their ideas in much the way that an espionage agent conceals his identity. Indeed, the humanist is a combination of spy and underground organizer. Cites the example of St. Augustine, who supposedly adopted Christianity as his cover for organizing a united front against the oligarchy.
I'm on 2x speed, by the way, and he's reading this. He's taking a lot of time to read this. It's really important for understanding ACP, apparently.
They destroyed all past societies they captured.
Yeah, ACP as in Assassin's Creed Pangea. As we're going 3,000 years into the past, we may as well go fucking tens, hundreds of millions of years ago when the fucking Pangea existed.
From Atlantis through Rome, 3,000 years ago, their headquarters were in Babylon. After they engineered its fall, they shifted their command post westward to Rome, then Venice, and finally...
What is this? Why? All we did was pick up trash. What did we do? All we did. That's all we did. What is this?
To London. Unable to stop humanist networks led by Benjamin Franklin and Friedrich Schiller from launching the Industrial Revolution, the oligarchs struggled to slow it down through their control of speculative capital, which allegedly feeds like a vampire on productive capital. But the oligarchs today are extremely worried because productive capital has begun to link up with the powerful, streamlined humanist conspiracy represented by the NCLC. According to LaRouche, human history is Assassin's Creed. And
Bro, I've seen people in the comments be like, great video. This is like really good. What?
malevolent cabal has been oppressing humanity for eons and struggling with heroic Neoplatonic humanists, and he claimed that this cabal today manifests as a British financial cartel which controls America.
Oh, okay, so that. And then you finally got to the thing that vaguely sounds familiar to what I said, which was the Anglo-American elite slide in my speech. Okay, so apparently you have to believe in a 3,000-year-old battle of a Platonic Neoplatonic humanist in Babylon. Apparently you need to believe that shit to accept the very simple fact that there was a profound degree of admixture, both in blood and in finance, between the ascendant American capitalist monopoly class and the established British financial oligarchy. Apparently, in order to even entertain the conclusion that there was some continuity between the British Empire world capitalist hegemon and the one that literally came right after, you must believe in the Babylonian 3,000-year-old neo-humanist. Fuck, man. What is this?
And bleeds the productive economy dry.
Fuck, what? No one thinks with awareness. Speaking of 3,000 years, it's like the Anunnaki. I must be descendant of the Anunnaki. I'm one of the only ones with my third eye fucking open, because apparently that's what it takes to have the bare minimum of conscious awareness to understand how retarded and illogical the line of argument we're being presented here is. Like, you have to believe all that crazy shit LaRouche thought to accept the simple fact that there was an Anglo-American establishment, even though that idea didn't originate with LaRouche at all and is actually true from a factual historical level.
This is just a variation on the traditional fascist idea about a secret financial cabals ruling the world.
I don't think it's fascist. I don't. I think it's just a fucking another crazy cult in America. I really think so. I don't think there needs to be a comparison to fascism, because fascism literally just said the Jews.
And sapping nations of their productivity and vitality. But this specific form originates with Linda, and it's obvious.
Yeah, again, it was Marxists who opposed the productivity of the material base with the capitalist elite, who were clearly retarding the forces of production and stagnating them and sapping them, which is what Marx said, actually. In Capital Volume 3, he said the rentier, the financial capitalists, they are parasites upon the productive capitalists. That's what Marx said in Volume 3. He said that in Volume 3. Why are you calling this a fascist notion? I don't know.
That this is where Haas and Hinkle...
Again, he's taking advantage because people watching this aren't educated about Marxism, let alone Marxism-Leninism. So when we espouse things that you need Marxist education and Marxist-Leninist education to understand the context of, instead of him introducing them to that, he's actually, this is what's behind it. It's this Babylonian thing from thousands of years ago.
Are getting this idea? I don't know to what extent they believe this literally. I think British is more of a signifier. It's esoteric of fascist rhetoric, which allows them to signal their affinity for LaRouche, a fascist cult leader who tried...
Yeah, you know what? You're so right. At the Free America conference with Jackson, we needed to signify our affiliation with LaRouche. Look at him, he's doing the Hitler salute. Look at that. But we needed to, that was the goal of that whole conference, was to give coded subliminal messages to Charmhole about Lyndon LaRouche.